This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Okay, so it's Tuesday, which means it's a top 5, and last week we did, I spoke about 5 albums that, just in my opinion, are massively overrated. Albums that get heaped with praise and plaudits and critical acclaim and, sell a fair few copies as well. And for the life of me, based on the music that's on those albums, I just can't see why they get all of these accolades. And I thought I'd do the flip side this week, talking about 5 underrated albums. So let's get cracking straight away with
The Snow Goose by Camel.
Yes, indeed, The Snow Goose, or music inspired by The Snow Goose by the band Camel. This came out around about the same sort of era as Dark Side of the Moon, and I think it should be as well known as that because it is equally as strong an album. I've talked about this album on the channel before, so I'm not going to go into a lot of depth now. It's a fantastic, melodic, instrumental progressive rock album that's inspired by the Paul Gallico novella The Snow Goose. It was originally, I believe, designed as a soundtrack to this short story. It takes about as long to listen to the album as it does to read this small book, and which is a novel concept. Maybe somebody else should do that, kind of write a soundtrack to a book rather than an album. Anyway, it's a fantastic, beautifully melodic, majestic, perfectly executed, beautifully produced, gorgeous album. The way it all just kind of flows from one track into another. There is, you will listen to this and you will come away with a head full of the most beautiful music that will stay with you for a lifetime. I promise you. If you don't know the album, go and check it out. I've linked to all of these albums down in the description, and that definitely, if you only check out one of the albums I'm talking about today, that is definitely the one that you should go and give yourself a listen to. So there you go, The Snow Goose by Camel. Next,
Kooper Session by Al Kooper and Shuggie Otis.
Yes, now this is another album that I've spoken about on the channel. I've even done a solo analysis from it. Basically, Al Kooper, session musician, played with Jimi Hendrix and had a career in his own right, discovered Shuggie Otis, a 15-year-old blues guitar protege, and recorded this album with him. This is absolutely astounding. I discovered this album when I was probably about 18 or 19 back in the 1980s. And it blew me away to think that this kid, who was younger even than I was at the time, was playing with this maturity beyond his years. It is an absolutely astounding blues guitar album. If you like blues guitar playing, then do yourself a favour, go and check this album out. It's available nowadays, because I did that thing where, when you move from vinyl to CDs and then CDs to MP3s and so on, things fall through the cracks. There's always maybe an album that isn't available on this new format that you're moving to, and this was the case with me. I didn't have the vinyl album of this. A friend of mine had the vinyl album of this, and he put it onto a cassette for me, and then when I moved from cassette to CDs, this album wasn't available on CDs, and then life gets in the way and you forget. And I basically discovered it on Spotify last year sometime, or a few months ago anyway, and it was just the joy of rediscovering it all over again. Fantastic, electrifying blues guitar playing, and just brilliant blues music. If you like blues, as I say, go and check this album out and just marvel at the fact that the lead guitarist on this album, Shuggie Otis, is 15 years old as he's playing the licks that you're hearing there. Absolutely astounding. This one should be, kind of massively well known. For me, it's up there with, an album like the Beano album with John Mayall and Eric Clapton. It's that good. So go and check it out. Next,
Backstreet Symphony by Thunder.
Yes, now a band who were the right band at the wrong time, really. Thunder are a British band. I think they're from London, and they just do good old-fashioned foot-stomping classic rock. good time music, blue collar rock, you can think of it like that. If you like, I don't know, Bad Company, if you like, sort of Aerosmith and, all that sort of, all the good stuff, basically, all the kind of good classic 70s kind of bluesy influenced rock, then you're going to love this album. The problem for Thunder as a band was that they sort of hit it big in the early 90s when, the world was turning away, or the music press and the music industry, shall we say, was turning away from, classic rock as a thing. It had become, and deservedly so, because classic rock had sort of more kind of transmogrified into, is that a word? Transformed into the sort of 80s hair metal thing, and there was the inevitable backlash against the excess of that, and a lot of good bands kind of got swept away at the time. Thunder, they didn't kind of disappear. They released the album, but I think if they'd been fortunate enough to kind of have this album out in, a little bit earlier, or maybe a few years later, and made it, once classic rock had sort of rehabilitated itself a little bit in the eyes of those people who were responsible for giving, albums publicity, the music press and so on, then I think this album would have been, up there with, it would have been regarded, I think, along with, Appetite for Destruction, or, any of the albums from that sort of late 80s, early 90s era that did become, vastly well known. So, I mean, so many great tracks on here. Love Walked In is a fantastic ballad. It's a power ballad with the emphasis on the power. It's not the schmaltzy, syrupy kind of, saccharin coated kind of power ballad that sort of became ubiquitous for that style. It's got real grit and grunt to it, and Dirty Love, She's So Fine, the title track, Backstreet Symphony, fantastic version of the Spencer Davis Gimme Some Lovin' on this track, on this album. Absolutely fantastic album. If you like, as I said, any of those other bands, the sort of classic 70s hard rock bands with strong hooks, good melodies, sing-along choruses, if you like AC/DC, for instance, I'm pretty willing to bet that you love this album. And Danny Bowes, the singer, what a set of pipes on him he's got. Just go and check this album out. Absolutely brilliant stuff. You're going to love it. Next.
Live in the Air Age by Be Bop Deluxe.
Yes, one of the unsung live albums from the 70s. We think of 70s live rock albums and we think of, Frampton Comes Alive. We think of the Allman Brothers at the Fillmore. We think of Thin Lizzy Live and Dangerous. We think, all of these albums, that are sort of the definitive live rock albums from the 70s. But this one always seems to kind of be a little bit overshadowed. Be Bop Deluxe, Bill Nelson's band, basically. I've long been a champion of their music. It's about time I did some more of it as lesson content on the channel, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But this is just a phenomenal live album. There's just been like a box set of it, kind of like an extended box set, which has this album in it, but there's like 3 or 4 other discs as well that are just other gigs and alternative takes and stuff. But this is a pretty good place to start. If you don't know this band, Be Bop Deluxe, then this is a good way into them, because you get the complexity of their music. It's sometimes been described as progressive rock, sometimes pop rock. How would I describe it? Imagine if you had some kind of mix of ELO and Genesis. It's not sort of the latter period of Genesis, like kind of Invisible Touch, that sort of thing, but the more interesting Genesis kind of stuff. Imagine that crossed with the pop sensibilities of ELO and some absolutely monster guitar playing courtesy of frontman Bill Nelson. Then you're somewhere close there. I mean, again, just fantastically written songs. Brilliant musicianship. I mean, the band on this live album here are as tight as a tight thing on a tight day, I mean, really properly well drilled and well rehearsed. And the version of Adventures in a Yorkshire Landscape from this album here, it goes on for seemingly for ages, but it's mainly one big guitar solo, and what a player, what a solo on that particular track. Well, on all the tracks on this album, but that is the one that always stands out to me. It's for me, it's just live album perfection. I rank it up there with, if you're a Dire Straits fan, then you'll know how good Alchemy is as a live album. Well, this is that good. If you're not a Dire Straits fan, then that reference probably doesn't mean anything to you. But, this is one of the best live rock albums you'll ever hear, and it should be much more, I should say, better known. So go and check it out. Next.
Trampoline by the Mavericks.
Yes, now, this one, you weren't expecting this, were you? That one-hit wonder from the late 90s, I seem to recall it was an E chord and a B chord on Dance the Night Away. And then big one-hit wonder, and then the band that had been around for about, 10, 15 years, split up promptly after they'd had their first taste of success, or major taste of success. Don't judge this band by that one little novelty hit. It's not like that all the way through. This, if you imagine, again, how would you describe the sound of the Mavericks? Well, you've got sort of croony Sinatra-type vocals with kind of Latin kind of grooves in there, and sort of mambo grooves. You've got 50s rock and roll pastiches, and you've got a little bit of doo-wop rockabilly kind of stuff on there, and it just all kind of mixes together into this melting pot of fantastic Americana music. It's beautifully produced, but not slick to the point where it sounds soulless and sterile. You can kind of feel the warmth in this music. You can feel the atmosphere of enjoyment as the musicians are making it. Dream River, I think the final track on the album is a strong favourite for me. Just a beautifully sung song that's simple, fingerstyle acoustic accompaniment, and then you've got the kind of lounge jazz of something like Fool Number One and Someone Should Tell Her. A load of great songs on this album. If you like that slightly kind of retro Americana, slightly rock and roll, slightly kind of jazzy, kind of Sinatra jazz, that kind of thing, kind of crooning sort of stuff. If that sounds like a Venn diagram that might interest you, then go and check this album out. But just don't judge this band on the strength of Dance the Night Away. That's all I'll say for you. So there you go. Those are 5 albums that I think are massively underrated and deserve a wider audience. So if I can do my little bit here to spread the word, then I've done my good deed for the day. And that is pretty much it for the video today, folks. Let me know if you have any a similar list of albums that you think deserve a wider reception, and leave a comment down below. Leave a comment about what you think of these albums, if you're familiar with them, and if you're not, as I say, go and check them out in the links. And as I say, that's it for today. Don't forget the live stream on Friday, 5 PM UK time, where you know what happens. We talk about music, and we talk about guitars, and we drink beer, and it's a fantastic way to kick off the weekend, I think you'll agree. So I'd love to see you there if you can make it. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.